Hey everybody, welcome to Life Behind the Cover. I'm Taylor and today we're going to do the mid-year freakout tag. Now I know that this tag is typically done in June, but because I had so much planned in June, because I planned months at a time, I couldn't fit it in anywhere, so I just figured beginning of July makes sense. So I don't know if all these questions are what people typically follow, but I'm going to follow them because these are the ones that I found. So let's get started. The first question is the best book you've read this year. I've read a lot of great books this year, but I'm basing this based on my enjoyment of it, like how much did I enjoy it, and for me it was Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston. I've already talked about this a couple times because I did really enjoy it. For me, I love anything queer, so it's very easy for me to like a romance that's queer because that's something I never got really when I was growing up. On top of that, when I was a kid, I loved, like, The Prince and Me, like, those type of movies, and this is kind of the adult version of that, so I really enjoyed it. The next question is the favorite sequel that I read in the first half of the year, which is Supernova by Marissa Meyer. Obviously, I love Marissa Meyer. I think she's one of the great storytellers in YA. This series had me stressed all the time, and the last book is no different. Like, I was stressed, but it was in a good way because she made me feel that way, right? And I was in love with the characters, and I don't want to say anything about the plot, obviously, because it's the third book, but chef's kiss. The next question is new releases you haven't read but want to. I'll Be the One by Lila Lee. This is about a chubby Korean girl who wants to become the first K-pop star that is chubbier, I believe. And she enters a competition to be a K-pop star. I don't know anything more than that. I don't typically read the back. This, however, looks to be super fun. It's interesting because it's one of the contemporary books that I wouldn't typically be into, but when I read the premise, I was like, yes, queen, I want to do that now. What's your most anticipated release for 2020? The next book I'm looking forward to is Cemetery Boys by Aiden Thomas. This doesn't come out until September, I believe, but I am waiting for it. It is about ghosts, and it's a Latinx family, I think, and I don't know, it looks super cool. I know it's early in 2020, I know it's early for the next half of the year, but because it's early and I've been waiting for it, I'm really excited. The next question is, what was your biggest disappointment so far? And for me, that was Batman Nightwalker by Marie Lu. Honestly, I'm a huge Batman fan. I've loved nearly every reincarnation of Batman. We won't talk about Batman v Superman, but I'm a huge Batman fan, and when I went into this, I expected a lot more. For me, it was kind of boring. It had no Batman in it whatsoever. I know it's an origin story, but you still want it to feel Batman-y. And then on top of that, I was just not offensive, but generally boring. And I don't care. It took me a while to get through it, so I was quite disappointed. It's not the worst book. I think some people would enjoy it, but for me it was a disappointment just because I expected better. The next question is, what was your biggest surprise so far of the books you've read? Mine was Nimona by Noelle Stevenson. I've been getting into graphic novels this year more than I ever have before. I've only dabbled in the past. I did Rat Queens and Saga, but I haven't really gone into any of them. And this year I started reading a bunch of graphic novels, and this was one of them. And it took me maybe 2 hours to read total, but was literally everything. It was so good, and somehow there was great characterization even in such a small amount of time. I had such heart for the characters, and I just didn't expect it. So it's highly rated. You should read it. It's phenomenal. The next question is favorite new to you or debut author. For me, I picked Casey McQuiston and Patrick Rothfuss. Both of these are new to me authors. I think Casey's book came out in 2019. The Name of the Wind came out too long ago, and I'm embarrassed it took me this long to read it, but both of these are authors that I will be reading from in the future, absolutely. The next question is fictional crush for the year. For me, I have trouble having fictional crushes. I know people are like, oh, I die for Will Herondale, but for me, I just love characters, and I love shipping characters together, and the characters I ship the most are Kai with Cinder. So for me, Kai, I'm not oh, I'd love to be with Kai, but I'm I love Kai so much. So that's who I put for this. The next one is new favorite character to me, and that is Adrian from the Renegade series. To me, he is such a sweet, kind character, and like soft, and I just love him for it. What's happening out here?
Tay-Tay, my earplug is actually playing.
The next question was a book that made you cry, and unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, none of the books I read this year made me cry. Let me look at my year in review. I just want to make sure that none of these made me cry. I think that a lot of the books I read this year definitely made me feel something, but none of them made me cry yet. That said, I do try to avoid books that are specifically sad because I have trouble reading those kinds of books, so maybe that has a part of this. A book that made you happy. Once again, I picked Red, White, and Royal Blue. I think I've already gone over why. That said, most of the books I've read this year I've been really happy with, so. This next one I don't think is in the typical tag, but it is, what is your favorite TV show right now? For me, I've been watching Drag Race All-Stars 5, which is phenomenal. I just watched ReZero Season 1 in entirety. It's coming out in like 2 days, and it was so good. Now I'm watching Overlord. I've been watching lots of cool shows. The next question is, what is the most beautiful book you bought? And this will be the only one that I get out, actually. If I can find where I put it. Winterwood. This cover is gorgeous. It's very my aesthetic. I love the trees and the moon. And then Come On. And I just read this one too. And it's good. Can't remember what I gave it. I have a problem with rating where like the whole book I'm like, this is a 3, this is a 3, this is a 3. And then I get to the ending and I like the ending and I'm like, should it be higher? But like in reality, like is it? I think is this the last question? Yes, so the last question is, what books do you need to read before the end of the year? And I have a list here, so if I look there, that's what's happening. The Lost Hero series. These ones. Like, how have I not read them yet? Wayward Son by Rainbow Rowell, right here. We've already talked about that. I'm scared to read it. The Throne of Glass series. Again, I reread the book, the first book for a second time so that I can kickstart reading that. And Night of the Dragon, which is the final book in the Shadow of the Fox series. My god, if I look super hot, it's because I am. That's all that I have. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know your most anticipated releases because I want to know all of them. I think it's harder that we're stuck at home now to be more aware of the books coming out and debut authors, so I really want to know them. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe if you want to see more like this. Have a great day!